Good evening, everybody. My name is Aubrey Bergauer, and from all of us at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, welcome to tonight's edition of our Tiny Dorm Concerts. I am coming at you from my home in San Francisco, or maybe I should say from Hume Concert Hall on campus. And I'm curious, tell us in the comments, where are you listening from? We've had listeners from all over the country, and I want to hear it. Where are you listening from? As we get started, tonight's program is Student Curated Night. And our curator tonight, Eli Simpson, was introduced to me by our dean, Jonas Wright, as a effective student leader on campus. And part of my role here at the conservatory is launching the Center for Innovative Leadership, training entrepreneurial students, arts leaders in the field. And so anybody who's introduced to me as a student leader immediately flies on my radar, and I have to say Eli delivered tonight. So we're going to hear an incredibly eclectic and thoughtful program. Everyone from students to faculty to alums is on tonight's program, and the music ranges from traditional to electronic to some jazz to even a world premiere. So as we're getting going, I want to thank Harry Winston for all of your support. I've personally been able to work with some of you at Harry Winston on bringing this series to life, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you for your just continual support of the Conservatory of Music Education. With all of that said, I want to get started. So our first performer tonight is our curator in the flesh. So Eli Simpson, are you there?
Yes, hi. Like Aubrey said, I'm Eli. I'm going to be playing two movements from the fourth Bach cello suite. I chose these movements because they have this sweet optimism that I think is very important to me right now, is to, kind of keep things optimistic, even though a lot of crazy things are happening. So I'm going to start with the Sarabande and then go on to Bourree 1 and 2. The Sarabande of each Bach cello suite are very special. Yo-Yo Ma calls them the heart of the piece. So I've drawn a big red heart over this in my music. So I hope you enjoy the Sarabande.
All right, bravo, Ali. So we're going to hear more from Ali later in the broadcast about what she was going for when putting together this program, so stick around for that. Meanwhile, we are going to move from Bach to some Scarlatti, and we're going to hear from Elizabeth Dorman, who is an alum. And Elizabeth, where are you?
I'm here in Berkeley, California. Hi.
Hey, we are so glad you're here. So tell us about why you chose these pieces, and I'll hand it over to you to take it from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, Scarlatti wrote 555 sonatas. So it's a great quarantine project because I could learn a single sonata every single day that I'm stuck inside and probably still have sonatas to learn. And they're just really all incredible little gems of pieces. They're not sonatas in the way that we generally think of sonatas. They're really just tiny little snacks. And I have to say, pianists tend to play probably the same 30 or 40 of them, but thanks to IMSLP and the internet, we have access to all of the sonatas that he wrote, and there are some really weird ones out there. They're just super out there harmonically. They're very funky. He's making use of all kinds of new virtuosic techniques on the piano, and they're really just constantly full of surprises. So I picked 3 sonatas. I'm going to play number 435, which is in D major, characterized by a lot of repeated notes, which is one of his sort of specialties on the instrument. And then I'm going to play number 69 in F minor, which is a really, really special one where he's using the theme of repetition in a sort of different way. It's very dark and very touching and personal. And the last one I'm going to play is another party sonata, 436 in D major, just fast and fun and a good time. Okay.
Elizabeth, that was wonderful. So I have to say, at the top of the show, I said, if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a line in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. And not one person did that. And instead, everybody just listed what they're drinking tonight. And so now I know what kind of crowd this is. And you guys are my kind of people, I gotta say. So we're going to keep this show going, and we are going to move to another alum. Shaina Evoniuk is a violinist, and Shaina has written an original composition that we are going to hear tonight. So Shaina, tell us where you are, and tell us about your studio I see there.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, I'm here in my home studio. I've actually never been happier to be locked in a room for a few weeks. I'm trying to just look on the bright side and really have been enjoying this creative time and this practice time. And yeah, so the piece that you're going to hear this evening is a brand new work. This is a world premiere. No one's ever heard it outside of this room yet. So I'm excited to share it with you. It's called Silent City, and it's inspired by the current state of things in our beloved San Francisco. I've been spending more time outside in my backyard and just really tuning into the sounds around me, and I hear a lot of birds, and I hear a lot less city hum, and I've been really inspired by that, the beauty and that stillness, and this is my piece about it. I hope you enjoy Silent City. I should have said it was written for violin and electronics too, so it's a little different than what you've been hearing so far this evening. Thank you.
Shaina, that was awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first here on Tiny Dorm Concerts, a world premiere right to your living room or wherever you may be. That wraps up our first segment tonight. So what we're going to do now is just take a few minutes break, a tiny intermission, if you will. So go ahead and get a refill on that quarantini now that we know that that's what this group likes. And we'll be right back here in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Or if you are just joining us, my name is Aubrey Bergauer, and you are watching Tiny Dorm Concerts, produced by the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. If you are new to our Tiny Dorm series, we are doing live concerts every evening, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here. And we're in the midst of student curated night. And if you're just tuning in, tonight's broadcast was programmed by a current student, Allie Simpson. And Allie was introduced to me as just a really amazing student leader. And she performed earlier tonight. And so now that the performance is finished and you don't have to focus on the music anymore, I want to hear from you, Allie. I would love for you to just share with everybody watching, what were you thinking when you put together this program? It is very eclectic. So tell us how you assembled tonight's program.
Thank you so much, Aubrey, for those kind words. And I also want to give a special thanks to everybody who said yes when I asked him to do it. One of the best things about this project was how many people I would have been a little bit scared to approach in the past. You know, everybody's very free right now, so everybody suddenly had time to participate in my concert. So that was kind of the impetus behind my programming, was who would I ask if I could ask anybody? And I was so lucky that people like Liz Dorman and Shaina and Jean-Michel and all the students involved as well said yes, because it was just so invigorating and exciting to be able to play on the same concert even as these other musicians.
I love it. That's great. And I think you hit something really important, which is that these concerts have been, every night we have tried to engage the entire SFCM ecosystem of ranging from our pre-college students to current students to alums to faculty. So you nailed it when putting this all-star group together, Allie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, and to speak to like the range of styles, I thought it would be really interesting to show everything that SFCM has to offer, because as a student, I see it because I get to go to my friend Knox's performance or my friend Christine's performance, and they might even be the same night where you have somebody doing a classical, very straight classical, and then in the next hall over you hear this like crazy avant-garde jazz or electronic music. So I really wanted to reflect my experience as a student and being able to access all that different cool diversity of music and musical perspectives.
That's awesome. That is exactly what SFCM is about. So that makes me so happy to hear that. So let's get this next segment started with some music. We have a really special treat in this next performer. Pei-Ling Lin is a viola player, but normally you see her with her quartet. Her ensemble is known as the Telegraph Quartet. They're the professional string quartet on staff. And tonight we get to hear Pei-Ling on her own without her ensemble. So Pei-Ling, tell us where you're broadcasting from, and I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Aubrey. And yes, it feels refreshing to lose the other three guys once in a while. I'm just kidding. I love all of you. It's okay. I'm looking forward to going back to the quartet. But in the meantime, we all have a ton of time to reflect and spend quality time with ourselves. And I think there's nothing better than playing Bach to sum up in terms of quality time with yourself. And the reason I picked Bach Cello Suite No. 5 is that this one I've been saving for years to play in public. This is the only one I have never performed before. And because this is, I think, in Bach Cello Suite, one of the most intimate and the best way to describe how one will write in their personal journals, because of all the journeys that it goes through from the very beginning to the very last note. So today I will play for you the first the first movement, Prelude and Fugue, and the very last movement, the Gigue.
That was Pei-Ling Lin, a faculty member here at the Conservatory and member of the Telegraph Quartet, and we tonight had the rare opportunity to hear her perform sans her quartet members and perform solo for us. And I just have to say, I also like Pei-Ling's bookshelf. I see that everybody in the comments loves your playing, also loves your bookshelf. I agree.
That's hilarious.
So we are now going to take a journey away from Bach, a journey away from California, and we are going to visit Sam Weiser, an alumni and violinist. So Sam, tell us where you're from and introduce your piece.
Well, hi guys. I'm actually coming to you from Connecticut. I'm here at my family's house, and I'm really, really excited to be doing this. So I want to thank Ali for having me on here. And I'm playing something a little bit different tonight. I'm playing a piece by a composer who grew up in the Bay Area and who lives in Hawaii now. His name is Takuma Itoh. It's of course still inspired by Bach because it's, you know, it's violin music. But the piece is called Stargazing, and I've realized how deep of a meaning that actually has for me. I do on a fairly regular basis to calm me down. I find it really centering and really a beautiful experience to just sit and enjoy a clear night sky. And well, so does Takuma. And I really appreciate that I get to play this piece. I want to thank my sister Raina. She's hiding off camera here, but she's going to handle all the electronics. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Sam Weiser, everybody. Give him a virtual round of applause or a real one in your living room if you'd like. So we have one more performance before our next break. I am going to turn it over right away to Cynthia Sun. She is a current piano student. So Cynthia, tell us who you study with here, where you're performing from, and what you've got on deck tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you for handing it off to me, Aubrey. And thank you again to Ali for having me on this beautiful program. I feel so honored to be with all of these great performers. So I am currently a second-year master's student at the conservatory, and I study with Sharon Mann. And tonight, and I'm joining you from Sunnyvale, California, so just about an hour away from the conservatory. Tonight I'll be playing the first 3 bagatelles of Beethoven's Opus 126, which is originally a set of 6 bagatelles. And I thought it was just a really sort of fitting piece for this time. This is a piece that comes very late in Beethoven's career. So he's finished all of his piano sonatas, he's finished his symphonies, his concerti, so he's just got so much under his belt, and I think it's a really interesting choice that he comes back to this really small sort of character piece format to really condense and minimize a lot of his content, and it's so reflective and so inward, and I think a lot of us can relate to that during this time when we're sort of, looking at all the work we did up until this point, and sort of, reflecting on our experiences. So I hope you enjoy.
Brava, Cynthia. Very nice. We are going to continue on with our program for the sake of time. Our tiny intermission just became a 0-time intermission, and that's okay because that means we get to keep the music continuing. So we are going to move right on down to Christine Lee. Christine is a cellist here at the conservatory, a current student. So Christine, why don't you tell us about your program and take it away?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. My name is Christine Lee. I'm a second-year graduate student at the conservatory. I'm obviously a cellist. I study with Bonnie Hampton here, and I'm coming to you live from Santa Cruz, California. I'm actually from here. I was born and raised here, and my parents still live here. So tonight, I'll be playing a movement of Bach, one of my favorite movements to play ever, the Sarabande of the Third Suite. And I'll also be playing something a little bit different that I'll introduce after I play the Bach. But it's a piece by Imbrie called In Memoriam. But I'll talk about that later, but I would love to start with Sarabande. So that was the Bach. The next piece I'll be playing, like I said, is this cool piece called In Memoriam, written by Imbrie. It was commissioned by my teacher, Bonnie Hampton, to honor the memory of her late husband, Nathan Schwartz. Andrew Imbrie was an esteemed longtime professor of composition at University of California, Berkeley, and also the San Francisco Conservatory. Another connection to this piece is that the Imbrie family actually supports my scholarship here at the conservatory, so it's extra special for me to play this piece. The piece itself dances between being deeply introspective and expressive, and also really playful and conversational and really extroverted. So hopefully you'll be able to hear some of that through the internet. For me, to be playing this piece reminds me of like such a unique tradition that we get to have as classical musicians, is that music is passed down through generations, and I just think that's so cool. It gives a voice to the past and also a voice to the present, so I really hope you enjoy. you. That was In Memoriam by Andrew Imbrie.
Christine Lee, everybody. We now get to turn a page and hear some jazz for tonight. So I'm curious if anybody watching saw the jazz program we had earlier this week. If so, leave a note in the comments. I'm really curious. We had hundreds of people tuning in from all across the country. So if you were among them, I am interested to hear it. And if you missed it, that's okay too, because now we get a flavor for what that night was like, because we have with us students from our RJAM program. That's Roots Jazz and American Music. And this is the Knott's Barber Jazz Trio. They are sheltering in place together in Colorado, which means we get to benefit by hearing them play tonight. So we have here Julian Archer, Eli Braddock, and Knott's Barber. So you guys take it away.
Hi everybody. Like she was saying, this is Eli on guitar, Julian on the drums, and we're gonna start out with I'm Getting Sentimental Over You by George Baseman. You by Cole Porter. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Okay, so I saw a lot of you did watch on Tuesday night for our jazz program, so you know this is what we learned. And Jason Hainsworth, that's for you. So we have one more act to close us out tonight, and this is going to be, I think, a first for Tiny Dorm concerts. What is not a first is a husband-wife duo performing together. But what is a first is the combination of some speaking. We were going to have a mini, or maybe I should say a tiny, presentation by Dana Fonteneau, and that will be followed by performance by her husband, Jean-Michel Fonteneau, who, as many of you know, is one of our cello teachers here at SFCM. So Dana and Jean-Michel, take us home.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, good evening.
We're here in my tiny office in Berkeley, California.
And my tiny cello studio as well.
And it's such a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you so much, the team at SFCM, for having us. And Ali, thank you for this invitation. About maybe 3 weeks ago now, on March 4th, when San Francisco was declared in a state of emergency, I was getting phone calls off the hook for just panic and freak out and fear, and people asked me if I would put together something to speak to people about how to be resilient during these crazy times. And as I was putting it together, one of my clients, who's in real estate, actually asked me if I would play. And as a former concert cellist, I can tell you with certainty I'm not going to be playing this evening. But what we did do is design this duo where I speak a little bit and Jean-Michel performs, and the combination has been really, really rewarding. So we're going to give you just a very teeny tiny piece of that this evening to round out this lovely program. And my name is Dana Fonteneau. I have a business called The Wholehearted Musician. And I was an alum from the conservatory. I too also studied with Bonnie Hampton. And I got my bachelor's in cello performance, my master's in chamber music performance, and then taught at the pre-college and adult extension for about 10 years. And in fact, my very first psychology of music program, psychology of performance program, was at the adult extension. So I'm incredibly grateful to SFCM for helping me create a polymathic career. I think that's something that's really profound about the conservatory, is how it really teaches people to be great artists. And when I think about resilience, I think of how to help people have meaning and purpose even in the most difficult of times. And when you think about our current times, I've never seen anything like it in terms of cancellations of performances. And when you think about what happens to a musician, what happens to the performer when the performance is taken away, what do you have left? You have left the human. And I think what's a blessing of this time is that we as humans, not just performers, can really go deep into who we are and why we do what we do, and what is the purpose of music in a time like this. If it's not about being on stage in the way that we've always known it, what is our role now, and how do we serve people, and how do we make music meaningful in ways that we can't take for granted anymore? And it's just incredible to see the innovation and creativity that's already happened, such as this series, in a matter of weeks. And what's amazing to me is that musicians, this is kind of what we do best. Some of the best performances I have ever heard have been at weddings and funerals. And I think it's because we put some of our ego aside, we're not worried about the competition, and we just step up and speak from our hearts. And this is a time where that's probably needed more than ever. So I wanted to just share with you a quote from Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And when I think of resilience, I think of him, because even in the most tragic circumstances, he managed to find hope and resilience. And he said, everything can be taken from a person, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And I think we as musicians have this opportunity to choose how we're going to engage with our fellow humans, to choose how our humanity is going to get expressed. And it's just so beautiful to be a part of this event today. I think we've all seen the incredible innovation and creativity and talent. And I'm going to leave you with that quote from Viktor Frankl, and now Jean-Michel is going to do what he does best.
All right, so I'm going to play one solo cello piece by cellist Grigor Piatigorsky, who was one of my, well, actually my college teacher, so he was his teacher. And this piece is called Prokofiev and Shostakovich Strolling in Moscow. So in a time of social distancing, we can imagine ourselves out there, just walking alongside two of the major Russian composers from the 20th century. And apparently both of these guys had a lot of sense of humor. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Stay safe and healthy.
I can't think of a more perfect closing for our night tonight. We get to choose how humanity is expressed. Thank you, Dana, via Viktor Frankl, and thank you, Jean-Michel, for taking us to our closing. And I just want to say from all of us at SFCM, thank you all for watching, for joining us tonight. These Tiny Dorm concerts truly are an institutional-wide effort, as Dana said and as Ali has said. And I just want to thank you all for being a part of it. Thank you to everybody at SFCM who's collaborated on this project. You guys have just really been a pleasure and a joy to work with on this. I gotta say thanks to the Marcom team, Tim, Christina, Janice, Karen, you guys have been just totally stellar. And for everybody watching, tune in tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is violin night. So you heard lots of string performances tonight. There's a lot more to come tomorrow. One more thank you to Harry Winston for being our ongoing partner in supporting music education and supporting these fantastic students that you heard tonight. And lastly, I'll say, take a look at the performance calendar online. And if you like what you heard, please consider please consider also supporting this work. We cannot do what we do without your support. So from all of us one more time, thanks for watching and have a great evening.